I don't care how much you love shiny cardboard, it'll never greet you when you come home. It'll never converse with you over a meal or comfort you in a time of loss. Cardboard, it's not companionship. And if you find yourself prioritizing cards over relationships, well, then we need to talk. Hey everybody, Pokemon Classics here, and today I wanted to try something a little bit different and take a step back from my usually scripted and edited and polished videos and give you something a bit more raw and hopefully sincere and heartfelt. But before I do that, I wanted to introduce you to my cat Aslan. Aslan was my cat. He died a few months ago, and it's been really hard to deal with. Losing a pet is never easy, but I am thankful for all the years we had together. He lived a long and healthy life. He was actually 18 years old when he passed. And it happened right around Christmas time. It was actually a few days after Christmas. And I'd slowly watched him deteriorate as he stopped eating and drinking. And then eventually he couldn't move anymore. And so it was just his time to go. And that's still been extremely difficult. But I'm thankful for all the positive times that we had together. And I'm very fortunate in that way that I haven't suffered much loss in my lifetime. And that's something that I'm eternally grateful for, that my friends, my family members, and in this case, even a pet that I've had for 18 years was around and active in my life. So I think that's just an acknowledgement to everyone to be thankful for what we have. And that whole scenario has led me to do some reflecting about what's really important in life. You know, I think a lot of people out there have always seen themselves as wanting to be influencers. It's the number one desired profession out there for younger kids, and I see that even with the high school students that I work with. But there is no doubt that doing all of this takes tremendous effort. You have to put in all the effort into designing the videos, making the videos, editing them, working with the analytics and the algorithms on YouTube just to be successful and to keep it sustainable. And so that's something that I don't take for granted. It's something I really enjoy doing. But I do think there's a responsibility that comes along with being on a platform like this. When you're out there talking to hundreds, perhaps thousands, or in some cases for people out there, millions of people, how we present ourselves and the messages we provide are influential. That's the idea of being an influencer. So it's always been my mission statement and one of my goals to try to keep the content uplifting and educational. I feel like there's already way too much negativity in the world, and that's something I definitely don't want to contribute to. In fact, if we think about Pokemon specifically, there's already this persistent us versus them mentality that I've seen become increasingly prominent in the community. We've had it back during the time of COVID when there was this idea of like players versus collectors. And then that kind of evolved into collectors versus investors butting heads over just trivial nonsense. And then we've seen it with modern versus vintage, as though there's like an active competition between what era of Pokemon you like better. Does it really matter? We've seen it with raw versus slabbed cards, or even within slabbed cards. Are you a PSA supporter, a CGC supporter? Do you like Beckett or one of the other upstart companies? All this unnecessary tribalism is something that I have no desire to feed into on this channel. And it even goes beyond that type of us versus them mentality. We've seen an uptick in the amount of scams that are out there and just greed and addiction that have infiltrated the hobby and made it a less desirable place for people to take refuge. And it's always been a place of refuge, I think, for people that enjoy collecting and enjoy Pokemon as a franchise, as it brings us back to a simpler time, to positive emotions, memories, and experiences. I'd like to see it return to that. And I want to go on the record of just saying this: money isn't the enemy here, unless you let it control you. And neither is collecting. If you're a collector and you're engaged and you like buying things, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's important not to forget to have fun and to unplug once in a while, because in the end, it's all just cardboard. And there are way more things in life that are much more valuable and much more important than what kind of cardboard you like or how you choose to store it or display it or collect it. And on that note, I wanted to share 5 pieces of cardboard that are particularly special to me, but for a variety of different reasons. Also, I'm going to encourage you to stick around to the end of this video where I reveal which of these cards I value the most, and the answer might surprise you. So let's roll into some cardboard appreciation. First up on this list, we have this first edition base set Charizard. Now, this particular copy was one of my first big boy purchases in Pokemon, and it happened a long time ago. You can tell by the old school PSA label that I have on here that I graded this one quite a while ago. I think this was maybe like 2012 or 2013. It's been over 10 years in my collection. but this copy graded a mint 9, and it's been one of the icons of my collection ever since. And originally I paid $200 for this card. Currently it's valued around $20,000 with a population of 715, but that's not why I view this card as important. For me, this was the iconic grail of collecting for me. It's the card that I always wanted to at least see in person as a child, and it was mythical. And so when I finally had the opportunity to acquire one of these for myself, I was ecstatic about it. And even more so when I was able to get it graded, because back then, grading didn't necessarily enhance the value of these cards like it does today. It was just a way to keep it protected and able to be displayed. So the first edition base set Charizard has a lot of significance to me in just the sense that it was checking off that box of a childhood dream. And so being able to live that all those years later and finally accomplish something that seemed impossible was really validating and rewarding. Still though, when thinking about this card, it's just a piece of cardboard. Next up, let's talk about this first edition Umbreon from Neo Discovery. Now, you don't need me to tell you how popular Umbreon is as a Pokemon, and ever since this card was first released, it's been one that I've absolutely loved, especially for the artwork. Now, my first exposure to this card was during the regional qualifier for the Super Trainer Showdown. I was competing in 2001, and I had advanced far enough to earn some booster packs as an award, and they were Neo Discovery booster packs. So I actually pulled a Umbreon from one of those packs. It was an unlimited version, and it instantly went into my deck and became something that I played for quite a while. Now, this particular copy is a first edition that I graded in PSA 10, and it's been a staple in my collection ever since. Now this one, unlike the Umbreon VMAX Alt Art that has a population of 8,536 copies, this one only has 96 copies in PSA 10, so I'm very fortunate to have this one in my collection. It's currently valued at about $6,000, but for me it's about the memories. This is one of the iconic artworks of the hobby, and it's one of the cards that I value most because of the memories associated with it. It was one of the cards that came out that I was able to play and that I had won as an award. Now, this is a different copy of it, but it's still something that I look back on with nostalgia. Now, as much as I appreciate and treasure that first edition PSA 10 Umbreon, it's still just a piece of cardboard. But this next card, this first edition Shining Gyarados, now this is one of the best artworks out there. Neo Revelation was pretty revolutionary when it first came out, and I remember opening up packs after riding my bike to Target with my brother and my future sister-in-law, who was just a friend at the time. And it was always gratifying and rewarding to see cards out in the wild. We didn't have the internet or other means of accessing those cards and seeing them, so there weren't any spoilers here. And of all the cards I've ever encountered, this is probably the best artwork, I think, in all of existence, at least from the Wizard of the Coast era, at least from the time when I was actively collecting and playing the Pokemon trading card game. So this Gyarados is absolutely amazing, and it was one of the first Shining cards ever released. In fact, that gimmick was originally added in this set, and there were two cards that you could get as Shining cards, the Shining Gyarados and the Shining Magikarp. Later, Neo Destiny would take it further by adding in another 8 cards to the Shining series, but these were the OGs. Now, this one has a population of 109, and it's about $5,000 current market value, and that's a lot of money, and it's a very treasured, beautiful card, but once again, it's still just cardboard. Next up, we have a card with a little bit of history to it, and that's this E3 Red Cheeks Pikachu. Now, I've talked about the E3 Pikachu on my channel a couple of times in the past, but what makes this copy unique, the Red Cheeks version, is it was originally given out at the E3 convention in person back in the late 90s, right when Pokemon was first making its release. So that marks it as one of the oldest and most historical cards in the hobby, especially on the English side of things. Now, this card has a pretty low population in PSA 10 of about 60 copies, and the average market value is approximately $5,000, so it's a pretty rare and desirable card, but it's really more of the historical significance that I find interesting about this card. Again, very fortunate to have a copy of this in my collection, but still, once again, it's just a piece of cardboard, and although it is rare, it could easily be replaced. Finally, we'll wrap this up with a card that's not graded, rather this one is raw, but it's a Shadowless Raichu, and it's not just any Shadowless Raichu. This is my first ever Pokemon card. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade at the time, but I was at a friend's birthday party, and he was absolutely passionate about Pokemon cards, and so we traveled with his parents to a local card store, and he was going to buy some cards, and there were a couple other people with us, and it was just infectious at that point. I had just been a casual observer to Pokemon. It wasn't something I was completely interested in, but I also wasn't fully disinterested in it either. But anyway, when I saw this card in the display case, I had already known Pikachu, and Raichu has that similar look, so I knew this is the one that I wanted to buy. I shelled out all of my money, spent $15 on this card, and my parents were not happy when I returned home with empty pockets and a piece of cardboard in my hands. Having said that, though, this card has been a great addition to my collection. It's beat up, it's played, but there's a lot of memories infused into those creases and into those scratches, and it's something I'm really grateful for, because here we are coming full circle. I'm making videos on YouTube talking about Pokemon cards. I've gone to conventions. I competed in the regional qualifier for the Super Trainer Showdown. I ran a league at one point, so Pokemon has provided me with so many positive opportunities, and it all started with that one card. As much as that has nostalgic and sentimental value to me, though, it's still just a piece of cardboard. So I guess that begs the question of which of these cards do I value the most? And in all honesty, it's a bit of a trick question because I would trade any single one of these cards to have my cat back. Now, for those of you that have ever lost a pet or a friend or a family member, I'm sure you can relate to this feeling because I don't care how much you love shiny cardboard. I love it as much as the next person, and every one of the cards that I showed you today has nostalgic and sentimental value to me. But those cards will never greet me when I come home, converse with me over a meal, or comfort me in a time of loss. Cardboard is not companionship, and ultimately what matters in life is the time that we spend with those we love. It's relational, and cardboard simply can't stack up to that. Anyway, I'd encourage you all today, if you have a pet, to show your pet some love, maybe provide your pet with its favorite treat or some belly scratches or whatever it is that your pet loves. Also, if you have any friends or family members that you haven't conversed with in a while or reached out to, I'd encourage you to do that as well. You never know how much time in this life we have with those we love, and so it's important to make the most out of all of those moments. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully you appreciated this video. I know it's a little bit different from my usual videos, and I would love to do more videos like this. If that's something that you're interested in or encouraged by, let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll get back to my regular educational content. That's really more of my style since I am a teacher by profession. But hey, I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. We'll see y'all with the next video. Till then, stay well, everybody, and don't forget to have fun. Bye, everybody.